Hey folks, Kyle Wilkinson here. Today on this tying video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I tie my antelope pair adult caddis for fishing here on the Yakima River and matching in the caddis hatch. So to start this fly, I'm going to be using a size 16, just an Umpqua U-Series size 16 dry fly hook, model U001. Take one of those guys out of the package. And then one of the things I like to do is smash down my barbs at the vise, so I don't have to worry about smashing barbs down on the river. I just pull one right out of my box and tie it on my line and not have to worry about it. For my thread today, I'm going to be using some size 8/0 unithread. This is iron gray. I like to use either iron gray or black for most of my flies. Whatever the shop has in at the time I need my thread. So I'm going to start by making a base layer. Start at the front and wrap back, not quite to the bend. And then I'm going to take just some orange dubbing, just a little pinch here. And I'm just going to dub it on my line, and I'm going to tie in that orange right at the back end of my thread base. Make a nice little ball and wrap forward. And then I'm going to take my dubbing brush here, just some Velcro on a popsicle stick. I'm just going to pick out those fibers. Now this can kind of add some color, maybe looks like wings or a trailing shuck, or it just adds a little bit of extra movement, a little bit of color in the back end of that fly. Next I'm going to take a piece of grizzly hackle, dry fly hackle. It doesn't have to be exactly proportionate to the hook size, just has to be somewhere around a size 16, size 14 size hackle. I'm going to tie that in facing backwards with that dull side of the line facing up, the concave side. Then I'm going to take some Spirit River fine dry dubbing in March brown color. This is my favorite color to fish the caddis here on the Yakima River. Take just a little pinch of that and dub that evenly on my tying thread. And I'm going to start there at the back, and I'm going to work my way up, making a smooth, level body. I'm going to leave about 1/3 to 1/4 of the hook shank at the front. And I'm going to put in a couple whip finishes to hold that all in place. I'm going to take my hackle pliers and grab that hackle. I'm going to use my rotating vise, and I'm going to rotate that forward, palmering that hackle evenly. Get to the front and tie off that hackle. I'm going to tie this in really good. I can pull those fibers back a little bit so they're not all caught in that thread. And then this is where I do things a little different than most of these adult caddis patterns. Most use elk or deer hair. For the wing, I prefer antelope hair. It's a little bit stiffer and it doesn't flare as much, and I just like the color change from kind of a lighter brown to like a cream, and then to like an orange cinnamon color, and then really dark tips. I really like that color scheme. So I'm going to take a little pinch of that. You don't want a bunch. I'd say about this much right here. Cut that off, throw it in my hair stacker here, make sure all those tips are aligned. I'm going to tie that in, and I want those tips just to go a little bit past the bend. And you can see that antelope hair is not flaring very much. Elk hair will go just pop straight up. Makes it really hard to work with.
So I'll take all this stuff out the front and I'll trim it up. And since the caddis flies here on the Yakima like to pop off around dark, when you're fishing caddis, they can be hard to see, or it'd be hard to see your flies. So I like to use just some yellow poly yarn or chartreuse, and I like to tie just in a few fibers right on top of that antelope hair, and that will really help you be able to see your fly when it gets towards dark. And really, you can fish a little bit later into the night. Just take a clump about this big and tie it in right on top of that antelope hair. You can fold it back over. And not only will this help you see your fly, it'll also add a little bit of buoyancy. Now I'm just going to take my whip finish tool and throw in a couple sets of whip finishes. And then I'm going to take some super glue. I like to use super glue gel because it lets me move it around the hook and it won't harden as quickly as regular super glue. And I'm going to just dab a little bit of the super glue wherever there's thread. And I'm going to take my little bodkin here and smear it all out evenly. Because one thing you'll notice with deer, or elk, or antelope hair is it'll tend to slide on the hook if it's not on there tight. And we don't want that to be sliding around. So the super glue will really hold it in place. And one thing you'll notice is if you fish one single fly for a while, that antelope hair will loosen as you hook into fish or drag it through the water, get it caught on brush. And you can bring that fly back to life by taking it back to the vise and then just hitting with some super glue in the same way. And you can keep fishing that same exact fly for a while. One thing you might have to do is trim some of these little hair fibers out of the way of the eye. And sometimes with the super glue, it'll harden and it'll get clogged in the eye, and all you have to do is take a little needle or a bodkin, or I use the tip of my whip finish tool and just kind of clear that out of there after that super glue hardens. That way you're not messing with it on the water. But that's the adult antelope hair caddis fly I like to fish here on the Yakima. You can tie this in a variety of sizes and colors. I like the size 16. I feel like that's a good average size for the caddis here on the Yakima. And this brown with the orange butt seems to work really well.
Hey folks, thanks for watching today's episode. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And stay tuned for some more videos in the future. And I might even do an episode where I'm on the water and I'll show you how to fish these flies. Thank you.